It's a universal language. The rush of adrenaline. Riding on the ragged edge. For those who will stop at nothing to go faster, it's called Mega Speed. On this episode of Mega Speed, the Newfoundland Targa has fast cars, dangerous corners, and did we mention dangerous corners? Australian mud racing would probably go faster if they used submarines.
I'm just covered from head to toe, and it's in my ears and in my nose and just everywhere, so it's great.
And in this filthy episode, it's pretty dirty here too.
You're going to see a lot of contact and a lot of aggressive racing out here.
Between the time you leave the road to the time you land, a lot goes through your mind.
Just all of a sudden everything gets real peaceful, and then you just realize this is going to be really bad.
This is bucket list territory. One of the most challenging and beautiful rally races, the Newfoundland Targa on the east coast of Canada.
I'll be the female version of Mario Andretti.
This here 30 cars, old and new, come from all over the world to speed on closed roads through little outport towns and villages and some pretty rough roads.
It's rougher when you go off of them, I'll tell you that.
On the straight bits, you can reach speeds upwards of 200 kilometers an hour. This is Jordy and Luke, two local lads who are in the Targa for the very first time.
We say, racing! Yeah! It's Newfoundland, we're from here, so... He likes the rain. I love the rain. Yeah. So I'm glad he's, he got the wheel today.
The first day of Targa is wet and cold, which doesn't dampen anyone's enthusiasm. This is the beginning of a 5-day race and demolition derby. The Targa is a rally race, so each car has a 2-person team. One to drive, the other to, well, he's supposed to navigate. These two just keep on chatting.
I want to just let them know. We don't have to pass them. Just let them know we're on them and we're pushing. We're on them and we're pushing them, so either they move they back down or they get out of the way.
The race day begins and ends in St. John's, Newfoundland's capital city, where it quickly heads to Clarenville, the hub for the next 4 days. Each day has a different route, divided into stages, some no longer than 15 or 20 minutes. Overall, the race covers some 1,500 kilometers with suggested speed limits. The speed limits are set by race organizers to keep things safe on the course. Drivers are penalized for going too slow or too fast.
Yeah, on the way back, we got a double caution. The way up, it's just got a slippery note. If the bridge is wet, it's pretty slick.
In between each stage, the teams prepare for the next leg. Today, Jordy and Luke have had a pebble attack their windshield. Oh, and their tires are way too big. The body keeps rubbing off the tread.
We're getting a bit of rub here. We're gonna take our special fender rolling tool so we don't damage the paint. It's a long week. Our goal is to keep this car in one piece by the end of the week and finish the race.
Mark Bovey is making Targa history. He's driving the very first truck to ever attempt the Targa. The truck is old and lovingly maintained, but still has some built-in challenges.
It just needed some safety stuff in it and found some great people to work with, so caged it, full fire system, ran a lot of math on the brakes, custom shocks, set of wheels, massive of tires as I can put under it because it's like over 4,000 pounds at really high speeds. And I came from a place where all the roads were straight and you never needed a steering wheel, but up here, you need the steering wheel all the time.
We got a bridge coming up. Turn square left, that T.
And when Mark's truck hits the road, it really does. It whacks the road every time it drives over a dip in the pavement.
Okay, go to the bridge. Okay, drive by sight. Oh, that wasn't warning at all.
We're really cautious of bumps on it.
Oh!
And when you hit a bump, it goes down, and when it goes down, it comes back up. And when it comes up, it gets really light.
And a light truck is a vehicle without much traction. And no traction means trouble staying on the road.
Caution! Caution! Caution!
Usually, about a third of the cars that start the race never finish. If Jody and Luke want to be in the other two-thirds, they better be careful. Meantime, down under, take a muddy creek bed, add a vehicle that's seen better days, spice it up with some big tractor tires, and then put some crazy Australians behind the wheel. This is the Cookham Creek Racing Championships. Just under 40 cars and trucks try to slog through about a quarter of a mile of Cookham Creek north of Perth, Australia. Each vehicle has a driver and human ballast. The winner is the team that finishes fastest, not first, if they can finish at all.
Just one car at a time, under the clock. Try and get around and get a good time, and if you get there, you win.
They have 3 tries, and a lot of the teams never reach the end. This is Sean Ward's 12th year slogging through the creek.
Once a year, come down here and, yeah, we'll get it muddy and dirty and get into it, yeah.
Sean's old Chevy sedan has a secret. While the rest of the car looks like it's seen better days, all the engine parts have been thoroughly waterproofed. His run seems to go really well, until the car loses power near the end.
That's a terrible place to stop.
Lost the alternator belt. It overheated, so we lost the alternator belt. So just hopefully we can get it back on again and get it going. Awesome.
Nick Green is Bongo's owner. Bongo's been broken, repaired, re-repaired, and like bad plastic surgery, is barely recognizable as a Mazda van.
Yeah, there's been quite a few modifications over the years where I've bent stuff and had to reinforce it. And as you can see, I have no windscreen, so you always end up with a good face full of mud.
For Nick and Bongo, the first corner is a killer. There's been a lot of rain this year, which is not a good thing. And that's the end of Nick and Bongo's race.
And I think I've damaged the transfer case on four-wheel drive, was coming in and out, so it's not much point going anymore. I'm only going to wreck it more.
Michael Della Polina leads the Team Rolex, an old Toyota truck that's had the engine remounted onto the bed. In spite of the modifications, Michael's first run could be his last.
What's happening is their tyres are making big ruts and there's one big hump of dirt in the middle.
Some look like they're never going to get unstuck. Michael is switching tires, which are too big. So time to make the fenders more big tire friendly. Michael finally seems to have sorted out his traction problems, but stops dead when he hits the trench wall. For his third and final attempt, Michael gets 2/3 of the way through when the engine quits. Is this the end? No! He gets it going. Another mud puddle. He's gonna make it. And he's done.
Not as good as I'd hoped for myself. I never managed to get through. Not in the best mood, but suppose you can't get what you want every day, so.
With Nick and Michael out of the race, that leaves Sean Ward and his orange Mud Warrior to make one last run.
See how we go with this one.
Uh-oh! Come on, boys. Come on. In the final few mud pools, it's clear the car is struggling. In the end, Sean's best time, 2 minutes and 23 seconds, is only good enough for 4th place. Michael and Nick never did make it all the way to the end of the course. Not that it matters.
I'm just covered from head to toe, and it's in my ears and in my nose and just everywhere, so it's great. I just love it, though. Go home tomorrow and have a shower and a nice long hot one and be ready for next year.
Still ahead at the Newfoundland Targa, one car after another keeps flying off the road.
You can't enter a car in Targa without being prepared to put it off the road.
And the Targa truck is causing its owners no end of grief. And up next, nobody said dirt track racing was polite.
It can really be a good night or it can be a bad night real quick in dirt track racing.
It doesn't get much faster, tougher, or dirtier. The Dirt Track World Championships in Portsmouth, Ohio. 30 custom-built 850 horsepower race cars crammed into a tiny oval, going fast on the straightaway so they can drift around the corners.
Cars that can pull the front wheels off the ground, I mean, they're a big handful.
Jimmy Owen has won the Dirt Track Championship for the last 3 years. Winning a 4th won't be easy.
You got to be aggressive and patient at the same time, and you just got to make smart decisions.
Jimmy's main competition is Don O'Neill. This is the closest Don has ever come to the championship. As the overall points leader, if he can finish 5th or better, he'll take the crown. All he wants is to not make a mistake.
You got to be up on your toes all the time, and it's exciting, and it can really be a good night or it can be a bad night real quick in dirt track racing. If you don't mind to get a little dirty, it's something you need to go do.
The Dirt Track Championship may not have the same name recognition as NASCAR, but there's some big cash up for grabs. The series champion gets $75,000, while the winner of the final race will cash a check for $50,000. A series of short 20-lap qualifying heats will decide the starting order of the championship race. Already, Don and Jimmy can see they're going to have their hands full with Scott Bloomquist, the Skull and Crossbones car.
My philosophy is to be the man in black. I think that's the guy that everybody chases in the movies, and that's who we like to be.
Scott Bloomquist, for the past month, has been the hottest driver in the country. So he's probably the all-time favorite, as good as he's running right now to win the event. Scott doesn't have a chance to win the championship, so he's going to be going as hard as he can to win that $50,000.
Race day.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 34th annual Dirt Track World Championship race here at Portsmouth Raceway Park. A lot of money on the line tonight, a lot of prestige. Will Jimmy Owens make it 4 in a row?
Don O'Neill knows 5th place or better wins the championship.
It's number 5. It is Don O'Neill.
Or can Don O'Neill, after 3 times being the series runner-up, clinch the championship?
Just ready to get this thing started, and then after you get a few laps under our belt, you know, everything settles down and you go to work.
Don's blue number 5 begins in 6th place. He's got his work cut out for him.
Here we go.
The championship race is 100 laps, and early on, it's clear the dust may be an issue. In the early stages, Jimmy's number 20 is battling Scott's Skull and Crossbones for 4th. This is where patience is important, waiting for the lanes in front to clear.
It's going to be about being able to run manage your car, not tear your car up.
Accidents eliminate one car after another, creating space for our guys to move up.
Scotty charges down the back straightaway, crawling into the top 5.
At about the halfway mark, Scott Bloomquist in the Skull and Crossbones number 0 slips past Jimmy's number 20 to take the lead.
See if Scott can hang on.
Don passes Jimmy to move into second. Jimmy's pit crew is super frustrated. They want their guy to smoke past Don and win this thing. With 2 laps to go, Jimmy makes his move.
Oh, Neil! Almost lost the road. Final lap. That's going to be disastrous.
The number 20 nearly shoves Don right off the track.
As they come up in turn 4, Bloomquist is going to win.
Scott Bloomquist wins the race. But for Don O'Neill, 4th place is still good enough to win the championship and the $75,000.
It's awesome. Hell yes, it's awesome.
After 25 years, victory is sweet. Up next on Mega Speed, what happens when you zig instead of zag?
And all of a sudden I look up and we're already basically gone.
And still ahead, 3,500 horsepower and a bit of sibling rivalry.
They are totally different characters. Of course they fight a little bit, but not that much.
What could possibly go wrong? Pikes Peak is 14,115 feet high. Every year, drivers race up the mountain. Most of them make it. Then there's these guys.
Jeremy tried to turn the car in and get it to turn, get it to rotate, but it was kind of too little, too late.
Yuri Kuznetsov was the navigator when his partner Jeremy Foley drove this car off the road at 70 miles an hour.
And then all of a sudden I look up and we're already basically gone. It's really when you get in the air and it's just all of a sudden everything gets real peaceful when you don't hear any feedback from the tires. And then you just realize, man, this is gonna be really bad. First impact is the most violent and you have your eyes open basically up until that point. After that, just your natural instinct is just to wince and keep your eyes closed. Even if you try to open them through the rest of the tumbles, it's pretty difficult. I've never been hit with a baseball bat, but I'm pretty sure that's what it would feel like.
Yuri and his driver Foley got away with minor injuries.
I did black out momentarily, and it was right towards the very end, so I don't remember the car coming to rest, but I do remember kind of waking up in a haze.
Yuri has returned to the mountain with a new car and a newfound respect for speed.
We're extremely lucky, extremely fortunate. Safety equipment did its job. And, lucky to be alive, lucky to be here. Definitely lucky to race again and give it one more shot. Try to get that checkered flag.
Welcome to Tierp, about an hour down the road from Stockholm, Sweden. This is where the royal family of Swedish drag racing, the Lindbergs, hang out. This is Johan, 30 years old and on track to become European funny car champion. What kind of aggravates this guy, Yanni, his younger brother, who won the crown last year.
Last season, I think we raced each other 4 times. I kicked his ass 3 times. So he is not so happy with that.
This year, Yanni is in charge of Johan's team. Yanni calls the shots as far as the car is concerned. Johan gets to drive and polish the car.
He can be a pretty grumpy guy, but he has many things that he goes through his head. He has to tune the car, have to fix everything.
The family involvement doesn't end there.
Oi. Dad. I'm coming.
Yeah, I think they are equally good drivers, but they are totally different characters when it comes to personality.
Lars Lindberg passed his love of drag racing onto his sons.
Johan is really mellow and Johnny is really a little bit more tough. But they come along really good together, so Of course, they fight a little bit, but not that much.
Time for the first race of the weekend. Everybody on the team seems pretty tense. Their goal is to get a time of 5 seconds.
The conditions this weekend is optimal for breaking a new record here.
Not so good. We shook the tires a little bit, so I have to lift once. So
6:19 at a speed of 414 kilometers an hour. A long way from 5 seconds.
It's nothing to write in the books.
Now, the boys have to get to work and find some speed. And with 3,500 horsepower, the ways to screw up are almost endless.
It's a fine line between spinning the tires and getting the tires you stuck to the track surface.
Like the secret with a car like this, you need to slip the clutch because it's so much horsepower.
These cars are so powerful, they need to keep the gears from fully engaging, or slipping, as they call it, or the tires would never get any traction at all. And it's all computer controlled. Johan wins the next race, but the time is even worse, 6:75.
if you're gonna drive one of these cars, you have to take your brain and put it inside the trailers, and you just go.
Last run, everything is on the line. And Yanni, he's ready.
Best feeling in the world. Better than sex, but you can't have that on the TV. I'm gonna go down and look at the track now and determine what to do.
Without a decent time here, Johan can see the championship slip through his fingers.
We're in the final now, and you never know how it's going to turn out, so I'm really nervous, but I hope for the best, and yeah, I trust my son.
.544. Not enough to smash the record, but good enough to win the European Championship.
Yeah! That's how it's done. Now we're number one. And 200ths of a second from my European record.
It feels very good right now.
So now he's second fastest in Europe, after me.
Now I have also won the European Championship in funny cars, so now we're even.
Yeah, that's good.
You get the feeling these two will never stop competing with each other? Still ahead on Mega Speed.
Exhilarating!
The Targa Newfoundland goes from happy
Racing!
to horror. And up next, we pit the future against the most powerful bike in its class.
With electrification, it opens doors to completely radically rethinking a motorcycle.
The Newfoundland Targa Rally Race is a tough nut to crack.
Cars are ready to go, let's drive, and we're gonna have a good day.
5 days and 1,500 kilometers of twists, turns, and mangled automobiles. Local lads Jordy and Luke have coped with a broken windshield, wheel wells that are rubbing the tread off the tires, but they still managed to get some air and are having a blast.
Racing!
The locals take the closed roads in stride, setting up on the side of the highway to catch the action. The Targa truck, the first ever truck to race in the Targa, is having problems with those roads.
When you're at a high speed and you hit a dip and the vehicle compresses and then releases, you kind of have to see what's the least amount of damage you can do.
It's no place for beginners. Yet that's exactly what Linda and Margaret are. First-time Targa racers and novice ralliers.
Good luck to you guys.
Okay, thanks.
They're also the first all-female team in Targa's history.
We're from Newfoundland, which is great. We know these roads, we know these communities. So yes, I guess that's our little advantage.
There are a few first-day jitters. Linda and Margaret almost forgot to take the breathalyzer test.
Steady blow, through the feet.
Every driver has to take it at the beginning of each day.
Waiting. Analyzing. Clean zero. Yeah.
All clear.
I find just as you're coming up to the start line, it's, you know, the old heart starts to race and the gut starts to suck you in, which is never a bad thing.
Linda and Margaret's ride is a slightly faded 86 Toyota Corolla.
Well, the car is a little tiny bit tired. It was in Targa a couple of times before. It's burning a wee bit of oil. So, and it's really hard to keep up with something here that's a rocket ship that's going 750 horsepower.
At the end of each stage on the route map, the little Toyota is the very last car to cross the finish line. Yet, at the end of day one, it's a very happy Linda.
Yoo-hoo! Exhilarating! When I went in, I was certainly very tense, and I stalled. But anyway, on the way out, we got much better, much faster. We're actually really enjoying this.
That's the thing about Targa. Somebody's luck is always just about to run out. The challenger cometh. Brain versus brawn. In this case, the Brain is a computer-controlled electric motorcycle, a featherweight with the equivalent of about 100 horsepower. The Brawn, 150 gasoline-powered ponies, the most powerful sport bike in its class. The electric bike is a prototype designed by Michael Ulrich, here to take a whack at knocking the Yamaha off its pedestal.
What we expect to see in this demonstration event is that if the two bikes are lined up side by side and they tear off down the straightaway, that gasoline-powered bike, which is the fastest 600cc motorcycle in production right now, should be able to win.
Michael wants his electric bike to win, but there are a lot of variables here. One driver's reflexes will be faster than the other. Michael knows his electric bike has a secret advantage.
The gasoline-powered motorcycle has about 30% more power in terms of horsepower, but we're a lot lighter and we have a lot more torque. So what that means is that accelerating and coming out of the corners, the electric motorcycle should have the edge.
The bikes line up for the first run. And the gas bike leaps ahead like a scared cat.
Clearly, area that we need to improve is gearing. They don't have a transmission, which is fine for regular use. In racing, you always want to be at the optimal gearing, and we saw today that where we struggled was where the gas-powered bike could just drop the cog and be right in that sweet spot. We had to wait for the engine to spool up a little bit.
As the name would indicate, the P2 is Michael's second crack at this. The second-generation electric bike Michael has designed. After a career building bikes for large Japanese and European manufacturers, he's convinced electric is the way of the future.
With electrification, it opens doors to completely radically rethinking the insides of a motorcycle, how it's laid out, and how to make it better.
With the P2, Michael has completely thrown away the frame, the metal structure that normally holds all the bits and pieces together on a regular motorcycle. Instead, he's created a metal cage that does triple duty. Battery holder, support for the suspension system, and you can sit on it, 3 in 1. Michael claims this has never been done on an electric bike before. To Today's test will be forcing Michael to confront whether his ideas work or not.
I think it's pretty fair to say that I've got some anxiety about the outcome.
The drivers repeat the test, and this time, when the gas bike leaps out front, the e-bike manages to overtake in the corner.
Basically, what I'm trying to do is create a ballerina against the gas-powered motorcycle, which is a boxer. It's always going to have more power, more energy. I want to dance around it in the corners.
Michael is already working on the improvements to the P2. Bigger motor, maybe 130 horsepower. Batteries with twice the capacity, yet the same weight or lighter. All handmade with a price of about 35,000 Canadian dollars. Up next on Mega Speed, the Crossley race car is pushed to its limits and beyond.
You come here today hoping that if something's going to break, let's hope it breaks today and we get it fixed.
And still ahead, the Newfoundland Targa is starting to look like a demolition derby. Steve Reed makes funny cars. His wife nearly died in one of these rockets, so safety is a priority.
I think she survived because all her safety equipment, her helmet, everything that she was wearing, the car did its job totally. I mean, she didn't have a broken bone, she didn't have anything.
The cockpit in the funny car is like a cocoon of protection.
It's got a lot of built-in safety features to keep everybody safe in an accident. We've got fire extinguishers on either side at the front, which is operated by a lever beside the driver. There's windows in this firewall, which comes down and it sits about here, and those windows are here. If I see any flash of any sort of flame or anything like that, it's push that lever, they'll activate the fire extinguishers.
Fire is the big worry inside a funny car.
So we use Nomex socks, the thick Nomex fire suit pants, the gloves, fire jacket, the full-face helmet. Supposedly we can survive 15 to 20 seconds. It's more for the heat. Moving back here a little bit further, the extremely strong chrome moly roll cage, which is really, really safe. The supports for your helmet, stop your helmet whipping around. In any sort of incident, we'll try and get the car pulled up as fast as we possibly can. We'll pull that lever, which will kill the engine, which shuts off the fuel to the motor. As soon as it's come to a halt, it's release your seat belts, then you can stand straight up from this seating position through the escape hatch in the roof.
It's fast and nimble. The Crossley 9S is candy to racers on a budget. Paul McMorrin is a former oil executive and Crossley lover who let his money do the talking.
I love the car so much that when the opportunity came along to buy the company, I couldn't turn it down.
You have to watch the width to make sure it doesn't make the car look a funny shape.
Paul bought the company from Arnold Black, who bought it from John Crossley.
You get sucked into this Crossley thing and that's the end of you. You disappear without trace. So it ends up total commitment.
Together, Paul and Arnold keep Crossley on the straightaway.
You are much more in tune with the things that are happening in a historic car.
The Crossley 9S is a holdover from what Paul considers the golden age of racing, the 1950s and 60s. Designed and built in Ireland by John Crossley, the little one-seater was a popular car for racing on a budget.
Crossley has always built cars for people who ran the cars themselves. So the cars had to be tough, they had to be easy to look after, robust, that amateurs running out of their own small workshop could run themselves.
The team is getting this Crossley ready for its first race and are on the track today to iron out any wrinkles.
It's a good idea to warm the brakes up pretty carefully in a 9S. Because the front wishbones are short, it tends to make the car move about a bit when the brakes are cold.
The little car handles beautifully, right up until it stops working.
It appears that it's stuck in 2 gears, so I have to take the back of the box off.
This is not what Paul and Arnold want. This car is scheduled to race in front of prospective buyers in a couple of days.
Well, you don't want to drag the thing halfway across Europe and discover some small fault. You know, that's a real downer. So you come here today hoping that if something's going to break, let's hope it breaks today and we get it fixed.
Racing cars, by their design, are designed to run on the edge. There isn't much scope for pushing them past what they're designed to do. And so things can break, and can break quite easily. But by coming on a day like this, you have the best chance of ensuring that if something's going to go, it'll go today, rather than when you get to the circuit.
You gotta get it fixed, so it's onto the truck and back to the shop. The cars are simple and still made the same way they were in the 60s, by hand. They only make 5 or 6 cars a year at a cost of a little over $100,000 a vehicle.
Nobody else is building a car quite like this today. There are 2-seat sports racing cars out there, but they tend to be built with a modern style, with a modern construction. This one keeps the retro look of the 1960s, but the level of performance is plenty to keep up with modern racing cars.
After a quick rejig of the transmission and engine tune-up, it's right back to the track.
We have probably the most scenic drive to a circuit of anybody. Yeah.
And this time, the car runs like a top.
Racing is pushing yourself and the mechanical parts to the limit. Racing is about extremes and about extremes of performance, and on a day like this, you sometimes discover the extremes sooner than you would like to.
Extremes are a daily occurrence in the Newfoundland Targa race. It's day 4 of 5, and it's already taken a toll. A pair of Targa novices, Scott and Mark Knott, brothers from the United States, are driving a red Lotus Elise. They've become the pair to beat, nailing each of their stages, coming within seconds of the prescribed times.
We had a good day yesterday as far as the times, but we lost the roof, no wipers in the rain, but we overcame that.
Mark, the Targa truck driver, is managing to keep his nose clean.
Everything seems great. We did a few minor revisions last night, put a new set of plugs in it.
But it's been a challenge for local lads Jordy and Luke. First, a stone cracked their windshield. Then, they had to radically alter the wheel wells of their car after they discovered their tires were too big. But they're still in the race.
We're 5th place right now. The Lotus is in front of us, and the Escort
Yeah, we're having a nice little battle
right behind us.
Here.
And we're pushing.
Jordy and Luke can smell a victory. Just one more day to go. But something goes wrong. Luckily, the boys aren't hurt. Can't say as much for the car.
Yeah, the front wheels, 2 of the front wheels are drove right in here, right into the fender. They won't spin. We're gonna have to get towed out of here. There was a little bit of, well, not
gravel.
That much. Yeah.
It's a slight crest. It's my fault, really. Too hard into it.
You can't enter a car in Targa without being prepared to put it off the road.
And seconds later, at the same spot, another team flies off the corner.
Holy Get out.
Miraculously, this new car doesn't land right on top of Jordy and Luke, but instead a little off to the side.
That's it, man. That's racing.
Meanwhile, the guys Jordy and Luke were trying to catch, brothers Mark and Scott in the Red Lotus, slip past the corner, but are discovering how tough Targa can be. Up until now, they've been flying over the course, easily tipped as the guys to beat this year. Then, something goes clunk.
We lost 3rd gear, and that's the gear we use the most. We'll be lugging a little bit in 4th gear in places we should be in 3rd. we are losing a few seconds of stage because of that.
Losing a gear is bad enough, but as Mark and Scott find out, not as bad as losing traction. Back at the Targa rally in Newfoundland, the brother team of Mark and Scott have their hands full steering their Lotus Elise through some pretty tight roads. The boys in red have emerged as the clear favorite to win the race. What could possibly go wrong?
Tomorrow's the final day. We came into this morning really at the top of the times with a really tight group, but we had lost third gear, so we started falling back a little bit. But we have a pretty good shot at this, and we just need to keep the car together.
Easier said than done. Nursing their transmission, the brothers are pushing their car as hard as they can.
We went off the road today and trimmed some hedges. The car hit basically some dirt and punched the skid plate back a little bit, so it saved the car. The radiator was good, we were able to continue on, but it was dragging on the ground, so it looks like we're going to take it off and run the final stages tomorrow without the skid plate and hope for the best.
It's the last day of the race, and Scott and Mark are on the starting grid, their car held together with duct tape and spit.
Not a single problem with the car once we got it taped back together.
One of the few basically undamaged vehicles has been Mark Bovey's truck. Although it has bottomed out on every single dip in the road, it's still intact.
I've owned this for a long time, so today we turned 200,000 miles. That's 320,000 kilometers, and to do a milestone like that while at an outrageous speed in the Targa, Newfoundland is it's a good way to ring it in.
The Targa is a grueling test for Mark's senior citizen. First, the transmission starts to whine and crank, so they have to pull up and tighten up a bolt on the back end. But it's cost them time, so when they get to Brigus, a good-sized town in the final stage of the race, Mark and Miles are really pushing it.
And I'm like, all right, there's something tight coming up. So when we were coming out of lunch and I realized they'd closed down the town, I was like, oh my goodness, I get to be Steve McQueen in bullets. This is as close as we're gonna get.
Caution! Caution! Caution!
They have just inches to spare before they end up in somebody's living room.
Sweet! We did it! Woohoo!
But from there, it's just a few more kilometers to the finish.
Wow, that was fun. That was crazy.
About 60,000 corners that we experienced in this amazing town.
And almost one house.
At about the same time, about 5 kilometers back, the race is over for Mark and Scott. The little red Lotus's transmission finally blew up. It's a heartbreaker.
We lost third gear on Wednesday, and then we just decided to run it as it was. It was a ticking time bomb once we lost the third gear on Wednesday. If it exploded after the last stage, it would have been fine, but we just didn't make it that far.
Close to a third of the entries at the beginning of the race never make it to the end. Yet, here are the newbies, Linda and Margaret.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
The first all-female team to ever compete in Targa.
My biggest objective was to be taken seriously as a race team. And I discovered that during the week that all we had to do was take ourselves seriously. I got to do what I really like to do, which is drive like a fiend.
The Targa truck not only finished, and actually came in second in its class. Targa Newfoundland is as much about relationships as it is about fiendish driving. Even if your car is toast, you're still welcome to raise a glass to your fellow racers at the end. And why?
Going racing! Here's that. Yeah!
Back at the Dirt Oval, Scott Bloomquist is already plotting how he's going to take the championship away from Don O'Neill. Michael Ullrich dreams of the day his daughter will ride the world's fastest electric bike. Up in the Crossley attic, Paul McMorran is getting another piece of racing history ready for the track. And with the European Championship in the bag, the Lindbergh brothers get high on American muscle.
it's a drug, so I think I'm stuck for it the rest of my life.